LilyUlloa here with Eddie Vazquez. Eddie, most people know you from your wars with both Ford, who was a champion, and what's his name, the Joe Cordina, right?
Yeah,
Who
Joe Cordina.
you fought in Monte Carlo, and people know you from those fights because you gave it your all. How did you from those? Let's start with the Ray Ford fight. I think everything from when I seen that fight, from when I saw it, seemed like you won it. When I looked online even today to just check back on the footage, most people were like, "Hey, this guy won it." I seen Eddie Hearn even mention that he felt you deserved the nod. How did you not feel discouraged after that to maybe just be like, "Oh, this is politics. I'm never gonna get
Yeah,
a
well,
spot."
yeah. I mean, I could say that it didn't bother me. It bothered me. It did bother me for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but not honestly, not even more than a day. Just for a couple hours, maybe even less than that. I was kind of pissed off at first, like and when I heard the decision, and then kind of going back to the locker room. Me and Ray were still kind of talking shit to each other, kind of getting into it. Our team was kind of getting into it as it kind of like separated us apart and stuff. But like once I like take looked at the whole situation, and I understood that yeah, sometimes politics is part of the game, and I wasn't on the other side on the good side of the politics, I guess. I wasn't the promoted fighter, so I knew I was going into enemy territory, and as long as I gave it, everything I had, and I performed well, which I thought I did. The majority of the world thought I did. It doesn't matter what the judges think. I think to me, it's more about getting the opportunity and then proving myself when I get that opportunity, and that's kind of what I did. And it just took, like I said, it took me an hour or two to realize that this wasn't going to be the end of it because as soon as the fight was over, the whole world was already talking about how they robbed me. So I knew that I would get another shot, because they weren't going to let it down. And honestly, sometimes, when you're a road warrior like me, you got to go on the road and take these risks. If you continuously win on those situations, you might not get that call back. So sometimes
Mm.
it takes one of those losses. It sucks that it has to be that way, but it takes one of those losses to get another opportunity. And I'm living proof of that, and I embrace it. You know what I mean? I embrace the journey. I'm a winner, and I'm there to win always. I'm never going to come in to lay down. So they know when they call me, it's going to be an all-out war. But I'm not worried about what the judges got to say or any of that.
How did that though influence you going into Cordina, who you're also coming in as the B side? Talk a little bit first about, were you surprised that you got the call or not? Because like you said, you know that the performance that you gave was gonna kind of draw people in.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about the Cordina fight. That came out of nowhere. I was actually warming up for my fight with Brian De Garcia, but it was for the IBF Intercontinental title. I won 126 actually, and I was in the locker room getting ready to walk out. My manager is like, "Hey, you go out there and you win this fight. I got something for you." He's like, "Take a look at this," and he showed me like a text message that they had offered the fight, and I was like, "What the?" Or actually, you know what? Before we was just sitting in the locker room. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about Joe Cordina?" And I was like, but I know who he is. I've
Yeah,
never
you're
rated
from the
him.
other side of the pond, so it's a little
Exactly.
rare,
I
right?
never, he was never in my radar. I never
Mhm.
even really had any thoughts of him. I knew who he was though. Well, that's exactly what I told him, and he was just like, "Well, you go out there and perform well, and check this out." And they showed me the text message, and I was like, "Oh shit, for real? Like, if I go win this, we're gonna get that opportunity." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Just a little bit of extra motivation." And so, we got that win, and yeah, I was excited. I was excited, but I knew once again that I was going into enemy territory. I was going up against Eddie Hearn and his guys, and not only that, but I was going overseas across the world into their side of the pond, and I knew that all the odds were stacked against me. But coming from where I come from, just to be able to have these opportunities is a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to travel the world. Not only that, bring my family with me.
Mm.
And like I said, I don't come to lay down, and I don't take training. I take training very serious. It's not a joke to me. So I know that. Um, I'm there for a reason. I'm not there just because as an opponent, and they know I'm going to bring a good fight, entertaining fight for the fans, and that's what we delivered. Once again, we didn't get the decision like I thought we should have, but like I said about the Ray Ford fight, as long as you perform well, you give it everything you've got, and you give them a run for their money, more than likely you get another shot at that. And we're actually right on our way right now to another big opportunity that should be announced anytime soon now.
Yeah, you actually been vocal about wanting that rematch with Ray Ford now that he's also moved up and he lost it now. Also very you've kind of both been there because he a lot of people felt that he kind of won or it was close, right, with Nick Ball. But it's a fight
Yeah.
that, it would make sense for both of you guys with your history. Is that something that, in the boots undercard, or are you waiting for him to fight then and then call him out?
Yeah, our teams are still talking about it, so it could be sometime this year,
Atlantic
so
City.
yeah, I mean that would be great, that would be great, and if all the stars aligned, then that would be the right time. But boxing's funny like that. Sometimes it seems like it's perfect and it makes all the sense in the world, and it just doesn't line up like that.
Mhm.
But our teams are in the talks. You know, me and Ray, we talk shit to each other, but at the same time, we both have this kind of like mutual respect for each other. So we'll message each other, and we keep each other in the loop, and we both want to fight each other. And there's no really no obstacle in between
Would
us. The
you
only op
prefer
what's that?
this upcoming fight in Atlantic City, or would you prefer to wait and see how he looks
Oh
in
man,
his
I'll
next fight?
fight him. I'll fight him anytime. Yeah, if it was the one at Atlantic City, that'd be great. I'll fight him. I'll fight him whenever, and he's down too. He's down too. He's game. It's just got to make sense, and our team's got to. It sucks. It sucks that it has to be that way. Like we want to fight each other. We'll fight each other tomorrow if we could, but um, at this at this level you got to let the handlers kind of do their thing and kind of give us the green light. But yeah, we're ready. We're ready, and as soon as that offer comes across the table, we're gonna sign that contract and send it on its way. So hopefully here soon. Hopefully here soon. If not this fight, then for sure this year I feel like it's gonna happen.
And speaking of handlers, because I think Eddie Hearn and Ford, he's fought in Saudi. Would you be down to go to Saudi if they want to
Oh
take
yeah.
that area over there?
Yeah, definitely. I'm all about being on the road and taking these fights on the road, and going overseas. I feel like that's where I'm dominant. Not necessarily overseas, but I mean like on the road, being the underdog. That's where I'm comfortable, and that's where I find the most success, and that's where I've made a name for myself in the boxing game. So, um, yeah, if they give me that call, I have my passports ready to go, and I'll hop on that plane. I'm ready to go, and I feel like like I fought Joe Cordina, and I fought Ray Ford, and I performed well against both of them, and they both have a little bit of backing with
With
Turkey Al
Turkey.
Sheikh, yeah, and if the opportunity presents itself, that'd be great. I've been trying to find a way, talking to my manager, talking to my promoter, and trying to find a way to get into his ear or just pass the message on that I would like to get onto one of his cards, whether it be, a rematch of one of those guys or any of the other guys, Nick Ball, Zelfa Barrett,
Mm.
any of those
The
guys over
division
there.
stacked.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, not a lot of guys are willing to go on the road, and I'm one of those guys. I'll go on the road, and I don't ever outprice myself. I'm not hard to do business with. I, I just love to fight. I just love to fight, and you give me that plane ticket, I'm on my way.
You talked also about your family, right? That you get to bring them along. How
Yeah.
hard is it to be away from them and then have these opportunities and then feel like you've always kind of shorthanded in a way?
Yeah,
Does
well,
it feel like maybe like I'm sacrificing for nothing, or like what crosses your mind?
yeah, well, honestly, I've been fortunate enough to where when these opportunities arise, I've been able to bring my family with me to most of them, even overseas. My mom and dad, they've never been outside of the United States, and I was able to take them over to Monaco with me,
Yeah.
and so that was a blessing. But yeah, being away for camp, sometimes we're gone 6 to 8 weeks at a time, and it's I have a baby girl. She's about to turn 5 next month, but it's been tough. It's been tough being away. She now she's of the age, especially right now when I told her I'm probably gonna have to lock in and go to camp and be away for a little bit. She's like, no, Daddy, no, I don't want you to go because she understands now. But yeah, it's always been tough. It's been tough. Just having even if I don't go away, like literally like out of town or whatever, and I'm having camp here at home here in Fort Worth, it's still tough. I'm always in the morning I'm gone for hours, and then it's come back home, and it's like dieting and running, and then work out again in the evening. It's pretty much an all day thing. So yeah, essentially I'm pretty much gone. I'm absent from being able to be there for my family, but I'm thankful for the support of them, and then I definitely would not be here without them. So I don't take any of it for granted.
What would you say is like so far, right? The thing you've learned the most from your losses now coming into even fights, the smaller fights, the more local fights that you had. You had two victories since one coming by TKO as well. What do you take now from these being in these big events, right? Even headlining to now when you go into your smaller shows?
Yeah, I guess it's the maturity in terms of like boxing experience, um, knowing that, well, first off, you got to know that anything can happen at any time, so you can't take anyone lightly. Like that's kind of how I get these big opportunities because they kind of put me in on the B side, and I come out as a winner because these guys might be sleeping on me a little. I try not to take anyone lightly. I train for every fight like it's a world title. So when they give me a call and it's probably a stay busy fight, like a local fight or something, I'm still training my ass off and taking it serious. So that's the first thing I learned is not to sleep on anybody, and also you just learn how to break down a fight a little bit more. It's sometimes you want to go in there and you want to get the guy out early, but it doesn't always work out that way. So I've learned to now use my experience to know when to step on the gas, or when to sit back and read a little bit longer, and then step on the gas. But yeah, there's a lot of good experience, from fighting in the bigger events, and um, just how to handle all the pressure, and especially in local fights, you get a little bit more of your own crowd there, and that can add a little bit more pressure. I think that's kind of why I like being on the road as a underdog because there's not as much pressure. Like it's just kind of you're just there to fight, and that's what I love to
Yeah.
do. So I'm able to perform at my best. But when they're local fights, you kind of deal with ticket sales and shit like that, and you got
Yeah,
to
or
deal
your
with your
family trying to.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so it is a little bit more pressure, but being in those big events, and it kind of teaches you, or I guess not teaches you, but you learn to handle the nerves a little bit more, and how to lock in fully, and that's something I'm still getting down right now is how to flip that switch, because you can't go in there like right now you're talking to Edward Vasquez, but when the fight comes, I always say like that switch has to flip to where I become the kid, and it not a lot of people have that, and you got to know how to tap into that, and that's something I'm still getting down, and it's just getting better every fight.
Do you think you surprise people, especially because people say, "Oh, he only has four knockouts. Like this guy's just gonna get him out of there," and then you go in there and you throw combined over 1,000 punches, people are still arguing to this day as quote unquote robberies.
Yeah,
So do you feel like you go at least you walk out of there maybe with more fans than when you came in?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm a fan friendly fighter. I bring the war, and if you go look at my record, that's probably why you don't see a whole lot of knockouts on there. Go look at my record, and I I mean since the beginning, I don't fight bums, and I'm in there, it's always been step up after step up after step up, or in this last fight it was kind of like a buffer, kind of stay busy type of thing, but they're all very game opponents, and I don't get any layups, and the majority of that is because I didn't really have any like financial backing in the very beginning of my career. Now I have a little bit with my management team and my promoter. they're able to invest a little bit of money into me. But even then, I always tell them like, quit investing money into me. I'm not in this for that. Like in my last fight when that guy quit in the fourth round, I was kind of pissed off because that's not what I'm in this for. I know that doesn't make me any better, and if I'm
You
going to
wanted
fight,
more rounds.
yeah, and if I'm going to fight, for a world title or even try to contend for a top five or something fight, that kind of fight doesn't help me. So I'm yeah, I always tell these guys, hey man, don't invest any money into me. Just throw me the dogs. Just feed me to the dogs. Put the word out there that you got a guy that will fight anybody, and I'm in the top 10, so we should be able to get one of these fights. And I always tell them that. They probably get annoyed with me, annoyed with me because I call them and I text them and I'm blowing them up all the time. Just, hey, what's up? What's up? Feed me the dog. Feed me the dogs. So but it works because we got something
So
coming
far, you
soon.
well, yeah, you've gone. So it's worked so far, and
Yeah.
you've been with different camps already. You were with Salas for a bit,
Hmm.
and recently you kind of been back home. What made you kind of kind of take a step back and kind of change trainers once again?
Yeah, well, I was with Coach Ray Barrera for the
Hmm.
first like 7 years, pretty much my entire like beginning of my professional career. And then I went off to Salas. I kind of did like a mix of a camp for the Cordina fight where I was with my coach Ray Barrera out in Vegas training with Salas. So they were it was kind of like a
Oh, okay, like a co-training.
exactly, and I think it was like beginning of last year, 2023 or 2024, sorry. Um, I got an opportunity. Really reached out and he's like, "Hey, I'm fighting Pitbull Cruz. You mind coming out to Salas and helping me with sparring?"
Oh yeah,
I
I
was
think
like,
I
"Oh,
saw a photo
yeah,
of
yeah." I was like, "Oh, hell
him.
yeah! That'd be badass. I'd love to go out there." And so I did that camp with him. It was probably about 6, 8 weeks or something like that, and I had another fight, that fight with Daniel Bailey in May, and so I was like, you know what, I'll just stay out here and finish out camp, and actually, you know what, I'll just take on Salas as my head coach, and so it was really no bad blood with my old coach. It just
Hmm.
sometimes those growing pains in boxing where you just kind of gotta you know you just gotta grow sometimes, and so I did that, and of course like I said, I have a baby girl, I have a family here, so I wanted to stay in Vegas. I really did, but financially, I just wasn't able to do it. Like I wasn't able to have my daughter already has a school that she goes to here, and she has all her activities, her friends, and all my family's here, and I just wasn't able to get up and move like that. So as much as I wanted to stay in Vegas, I had to come back home. And honestly, I didn't even plan on staying at home, although I had to come back home. Me and my girl and my daughter, we were planning honestly on probably moving to Vegas. And when I came back home, my coach that I started boxing with as a kid, when I was like 7, 8 years old, um, he reached out to me and was, hey man, I see that you're in town. If you want to come work out at our gym to kind of stay loose until you go back out to Vegas with Salas, you're more than welcome to come on in.
That's nice.
He's like, I know that you might have a little bit of bad blood with your old coach. You're not allowed back in over there. He's like, I just want to be able to help you out. And so I went in there and we worked a little bit of pads for a little bit. After a week or two, and we just started clicking. And in my head, I was like, man, this is like, well, these were the guys that brought me up as a kid, for like the first 14 years of my career. These were the guys that taught me everything. And so it was kind of like,
So familiar, natural.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And they knew things about me, or they know things about me that I don't even know about myself. Like, sometimes they'll remind me of a certain shot or a certain move or certain things that I'm doing in the ring that I'm good at that I just totally forgot about, and I guess, I started doing other things that I got away from these certain things. And so, they'll be like, hey, you have a good, right hand or whatever it is. And, you used to throw it like this, let's try to do that again. And it comes out and it's like, damn, like you're 100% right. And so, it's like, something clicked. And, and so like I'm here now, I'm here with them. But even my coach today, he's like, in between fights, he's like, hey, I think you should still go back out there with Salas and see if you can get some work and some sparring and keep that connection. So, you know, it's just different coaches have different looks at it, but I'm definitely happy with where I'm at right now, and I feel like if I ever needed to go back out to Vegas with Salas, hopefully they'd welcome me with open arms, even if it was just for sparring.
Yeah,
They got some of the best fighters in the world out there
yeah,
and some of the best sparring. When I was out there, I got very good work, and
yeah. Who
it's
did you
like,
spar with? I know you posted Rolly. Who else did you get into?
yeah, I sparred with Gabriel Flores. I
Oh,
sparred with
nice.
Kevin Brown, who's like um, a Cuban Olympian who's up and coming now. I'm sure, I don't know,
Yeah,
he
there's a
might be.
lot of Cubans there, Dominicans.
Yeah. There's a lot, and Andres Cortez. There's a lot of really good names out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Top rank guy. Yeah.
that you're able to mix it up with, and so you know, all those guys, they're really good work, and you learn a lot out there. To me, it was like being away at college. Like I tell
Mm,
everyone, I went out there. I've been fighting over 20 years now, so um, I was out there last year, and so it was already over 20 years that I was out there, and or that I've been fighting. When I went out there, it's like I knew nothing. It's like they're like, we got to go all over
yeah.
everything from throwing
Start
the
from
jab
yeah.
to
Start
how
from the
you're
beginning.
standing and how you're moving, everything all over again. And we're gonna have to, pretty much unlearn and relearn. So I love that. I love being the dumbest one in the room, and that's definitely what I was there when I walked in. I was like, oh shit, like I don't know anything. Like hard work isn't everything. So like that's something I've learned also with experience, is that being in shape and being the hardest worker is it's great. It's great, but it doesn't that's not what makes a great fighter, and that's not what's going to win you fights. It might get you by a lot of guys, but that's not necessarily wins you fights. You got to have that plus some
Also
brains
keeps
and
you like
plus.
a good memory in the fans. Like the fans will see you and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like I remember him. Cool. Like I want to see that fight."
Yeah, exactly. So you gotta have somebody who's gonna teach you the right things. I feel like that's the biggest difference for sure.
What is your relationship with Eddie Hearn? Because he's really funny and he likes to mess around. And he's kind of like we mentioned before, admitted that maybe you did deserve the nod initially with Ford. Is he a cool guy around you, or like what is your dynamic with him?
Yeah, it's always mutual respect between me and Eddie Hearn when we see each other. You know, I, I mean, I think we could exchange words.
You feel like you can
We
DM him
we
and be
could,
like, "Can you please just make him like give me a rematch?"
yeah.
Or
Well, I
like,
mean,
"Hey, bro, I'm here."
we could, but sometimes it's business at the end of the day. None of it's personal. So, um, I appreciate him for the opportunities he's provided for me, and hopefully that he'll continue to provide for me. And
Mhm.
so like I said, it's all it's business at the end of the day. So there's no hard feelings, and I guess I just know that it's just part of the game sometimes, and you got to play the game,
Yeah.
and that's what happens when you're on the field and not on the sidelines. Sometimes that just happens, and you got to be willing to play.
You're teasing a big announcement hopefully soon. If it isn't Ray Ford, if he kind of rather go another path in the landscape, because this division is so stacked. I know you talked about some names, but realistically, like who is the name that you're like, oh my god, like this makes sense and I want that guy and it would make sense to make this fight?
Yeah, well, I would love to fight Sugar Nunez, and they actually did offer me that fight like last. When did he fight? September or October, something last year in
Yeah, in the
L.A.
fall.
Yeah, and I think it was in L.A. or Carson, California, or something like that. And they offered me that fight on a 4 week notice, and I accepted it. But for some whatever reason, our teams weren't able to come to an agreement, and so that fight didn't end up happening. But that's something that's out there that I would love to happen, make happen. He Anthony Kakachi
Yeah.
vacated his IBF world title.
Oh yeah.
Sugar
That's
Nunez
vacant.
is Yeah, so Sugar Nunez is number one. Number two is vacant, and so I think today or yesterday or something they just ordered Sugar Nunez to fight I don't know the guy's name, Rikishi or something like that. I
Mhm.
think he's number three or number four or something like that. So, you know, I don't know if they came to an agreement or what's happening, but that's something that definitely could, that definitely could be happening, or maybe a 126 fight or one of these guys from 126 coming up to 130,
So
you
you
know.
would be down still to go at 126 if the right,
Yeah, yeah,
big fights came?
yeah, I always just tell my manager and my promoter that if they give me, an 8 to 10 week camp, then yeah, I can make 126. Anything under 6 to 8 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks, I have to do 130, and that's not to say that I can't
Yeah,
make 126 in 6 weeks. I
that's
probably can.
draining your.
Exactly, but and then like I'm compromising my performance and my health just to make a fucking fight happen, and that to me is not worth it. So hopefully, if they do give me a call for a 126 fight, it'll be 8 to 10 week notice. But I think we're all in agreement on that. So um, you know, those opportunities are out there, and they do call sometimes. They do call. Just everything's got to make sense at right now. So hopefully we'll be able to land something soon.
So, now to end it with like more lighthearted question for people to get to know, a little bit more about you. What is the music that like you listen to when you're training?
I'm not a real big music guy to be honest with you. I whatever's
You have
on
other
the
people, you hand other people the aux cord then.
yeah, exactly. Whatever's on. I'm not real big on music. Like it does. I don't even listen to it or I don't even care honestly. I'm not a music guy. Like when I'm out running, a lot of times people they'll be like, dude, like you're out there running with
You're just
with no headphones
headphones
on. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'll go run for an hour or two, and I'm just,
with your thoughts. You're like
I
thinking.
guess so, yeah. It's kind of, it's like meditation for me. But yeah, I mean, music, I don't know. It doesn't matter, honestly.
Now, with what is with your sparring one sparring partner that you had that like taught you the most, where you got in there and you felt like you got the best work and you learned the most?
When I was 17 years old, or not 17, I think it must have been like 18 or 19 maybe. I went out to California to spar, and I went out there and I had no money, nothing. I just bought a flight and put my gloves around my neck, literally my gloves around my neck because I didn't want to pay for a carry
Oh
on.
yeah.
And yeah, and my girlfriend was at the time was living in California for she was going to college out there in Long Beach.
Oh,
And
I live in
so
Long
I
Beach. Hey.
yeah, so she was going to school out there and I, told her, hey, I'm gonna get a flight out there. I'm not bringing anything. I brought a few changes of clothes, and that was it, and my gloves. And she was like, "You're crazy. What are you gonna do?" I'm like, I'm just gonna come and walk into these gyms and try to find an opportunity to get my name out there." And I was like, because I've been fighting my whole life. I just need a chance to.
Opportunity.
I just need to get in front of the right person at the right time. And so, actually, I walked into first it was Wild Card West in Santa Monica, California, and I sparred with Ryan Garcia. That was good sparring. And then
At
they paid
17,
me.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so they paid me at the time, and this one Ryan was really young actually. Like he
Yeah.
didn't have the following he has now, like
Yeah,
nowhere
no,
near
yeah,
that.
I know Ryan since you was like so skinny and little, so I know
Yeah, yeah.
exactly which Ryan you mean.
Yeah, so it was cool, and they paid me for that, and I was like, oh man, like I had nothing. Like I said, I had nothing. And I was like, oh shit, like I can make some money this way. And actually, right there, they were like, hey, if you go down to Carson, you can spar with Oscar Valdez. He's looking for
Oh,
sparring,
at
and he's
Legends?
yeah, and yeah, yeah, exactly. Or no, not at Legend. It was it Rock? Is that what it's called?
Oh, okay, The Rock. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah, yeah. So they're like, and he's actually paying and he's looking for sparring. And I was like, oh shit, like cool. So I went down there maybe, I don't know, a few days later. And that right there is where I really learned. Got some rounds in with him. And, that was my first taste of like he was a world champion at the time.
Yeah, and he
And
doesn't. I've seen him spar. Him and Manny Robles do not go easy on their sparring partners.
exactly,
They
exactly,
do not.
exactly. And so I learned a lot right there, and I learned first, boom, right off the first jab. I was like, oh shit, like we're in the big leagues now. These guys aren't touching the
Welcome to
jab.
California.
They're thumping that jab, and it was funny, because I didn't have anyone with me. I literally went out there by myself, and so it was funny because when I went to go spar Ryan at first, I walked into the wild card gym, and they're like, what are you here for? And I was like, I'm looking for an opportunity to spar with your best guy here. And they all kind of looked around. They're like, who do you have? Like, do you have anybody to work your corner? And I was like, no, but my girl's in the car. She can work my corner. And so she came in and worked my
That is
corner.
so cute.
Yeah. And so when I went down to the Rock to spar with Oscar, it was the same thing. They're like, who's gonna work your corner? I was like, well, my girl can work my corner. And so,
That is so
we're
wholesome.
sparring, and you know, I was holding my own, and then Oscar hit me with the nasty body shot. Oh my God,
He's
nasty
broke
body
so
shot.
many people with
It,
body shots I've
yeah,
seen.
exactly. So my girl was there, so I couldn't go down. I was like, no way, I'm not going down. So I didn't go down, but at the end of the round, I came back to the corner, and she's like, "Oh man, he got you, huh?" And I was like, "Oh my God, don't say that." And so we still
It's like
talk
I
about
seen it.
Yeah, we still talk about it till this day. But yeah, like that, I learned a lot right there. I learned, how first off, I learned how serious the game was because I remember, like there were some other guys that walked into the gym, that were part of Manny's team, and they were just a few minutes late. I think we got there like at 10. These guys are showing up 10:04, 10:05. And I remember Manny telling them, "Hey, look, you're not sparring today because you're late." And it's
He's
literally like
strict.
a
He's
few minutes
strict.
late. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so just little things like that where you learn like damn, like these guys are it's for real, and these people aren't 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They're taking this business serious. And then I think after that, I went out to Philadelphia and had like a little camp out there, and I learned how those guys out there are. They're for real. They're we're running like 10
Yeah, the
miles a
culture in Philly, the boxing culture is just different.
yeah, we're running like 10 miles a day. So like that was the difference is like you go to California, you learn that there's a lot of serious talent out there. There's people from everywhere in California, that come in there to train. And so I learned that. But when I went to Philadelphia, I learned that these guys are trying to make it out of Philadelphia, and the only way they're going to make it out is if they train this hard. And so it blew my mind, and I just kind of took a little bit of everything that I was learning and added it to my own game and brought it back home to Texas. And I separated myself from everyone around my town, or everyone. He started blowing them out of the water because I was learning things from everyone and adding it to my own arsenal. And till this day, I still try to do that. Anywhere I go, I just try to take a little bit that I can, whatever I can retain, and put it into my game.
All right. So give me your opinion also on, any current boxing fights. Are you one of those fighters who likes to watch other boxing fights, or you kind of like I work on my own and I just worry about my
No, yeah, I love boxing and I love watching boxing. I'm excited for the card that's coming up with Shakur Stevenson and
over there.
Schofield and Virgil.
Virgil.
Yeah, Virgil. And I think that whole card is going to be a pretty badass fight or a badass card. And Bivol and Beterbiev again. I think that's going to be a really good card. And then you got Carlos Adames on there also
Yeah.
fighting. Forgot the
Sharon.
other guys there. Yeah,
All
something
right,
like that.
give me, let's go that card. Just give me your pick. We both Bertaviev, who wins?
With okay, with who?
With Bivol versus Bertaviev, who wins the
Oh,
night?
okay. Man, mm, man, that's tough because I like Beterbiev, but I think Bivol's going to make the
Do
adjustment
you
on
think
this
he
one.
won the first one?
Um, Man, it was so close. Honestly, I think the right guy won,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think that's such a good. Typically, I would say that on a fight like that, like even if it's or on most rematches, the same guy's going to win. But on this one, I think Bivol's going to win. I think he's going to make the adjustments. I think he's smart, and he's got a good team, and I think he's going to make the right adjustments and win this next one. But I think it was just in for another good fight. I think the fans win on that one.
Mm. How about Dubois and Parker? Because I know Dubois just sparked Joshua, and Parker I think went
Yeah,
the distance with Joshua, but I think with Wilder too. I
yeah.
think
I think yeah. Man, I think Dubois.
knockout.
He's. I mean,
It's heavyweights, right?
I think that's the only way. I think that's the only way, honestly, because Parker can box a little bit. He can move around and box a little bit. So I think the only way Dubois wins is by knockout. But I think he could pull it off. He's got some weird ass power, and
Yeah.
he's kind of awkward. But I think he'll be able to pull that one off. I don't
How
know
about
though. I don't know. I
Shakur?
really don't know a whole lot about those two guys.
With Shakur, people are criticizing him, right? Some people because they feel like, why is he taking on our up and comer when he's already a champion, right?
Yeah.
But you are the guy who I think a lot of people still consider a contender. Like who, you would go. What are your thoughts on him? Or do you think he wins, or do you think he gets blown out by the up and comer?
Yeah, I, I mean, stylistically, based on IQ, I would say that Shakur wins, but I just hope that Shakur is fully locked in and is not
Like
distracted by
dismissing.
distracted by outside things, going around in his life or things like that, which could definitely happen, you sleep on a guy. Like I always say, like when they give me a fight, when they call me about a fight with a guy who's a pretty good fighter, it's easy. Like I can get up and work my ass off for that, and I'm not gonna sleep on him. I'm not gonna leave anything unturned. And I think that maybe that. I mean, I hope that's what Shakur is doing, but maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he is sleeping on Schofield a little bit. Maybe, and he looks at him as like a prospect still, and not really shouldn't even be in the ring with them. And maybe he's right. I don't think he should be overlooking him. And I think Floyd Schofield's going to come and fight like he always does.
Yeah, he has nothing to lose.
Exactly. And Shakur's not like, at 135, he's not like some crazy ass puncher or anything like that. So, um, Schofield's going to bring it. And so, we'll see what kind of Shakur we get. We'll see what kind of Shakur we get. If he's locked in, if his hand's healthy, we'll see. We'll see, honestly, because like I said, you can't sleep on guys like Schofield. He's kind of like me. Like where
Yeah, they're
we're,
coming
yeah,
to
we're
their
taking.
own.
He asked for the fight. He really wanted to take this risk,
Yeah,
even
he
though
kept
Oscar De La
asking
Hoya,
for that
yeah,
fight.
Oscar De La Hoya told him not to, and he's like, no, I want this fight.
You gotta
And,
respect that.
exactly, and those are the kind of guys that when they have nothing to lose, those are the ones you got to really, really keep an eye on. And like I said, I just hope that Shakur. I mean, in my eyes, I would think Shakur's a better fighter,
Mhm.
more experienced fighter, especially at that level. So I would say that he'd probably get the win, but you never know what kind of Shakur you're gonna get. So, you know, shit, I don't know. Honestly, we'll see.
I'm assuming that you would go rooting for Bronco because you guys were stablemates for a bit, and with Virgil
Yeah, that's my
also because
guy.
you guys are both from Texas. I'm
Exactly.
assuming so. You were supporter for both.
Yeah, Virgil's my guy, and Carlos Adames are he's my guy too. We train alongside each other. Me and Virgil, we come from the same LBC, fighting as an amateur. We're like, when, our cities are literally right next to each other. So, sometimes when, he was younger than me, and actually he was smaller than me growing up. So we're kind of in the same, you know, tournaments and stuff like
Amateur
that. So,
bubble, yeah.
yeah, so, I'm not going to say I know him like very well on a personal level or anything like that, but we know of each
You're
other.
familiar, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got my support, and I'm always rooting for the hometown guy, and I hope he goes out there and
Yeah.
pulls it off.
All right, and let the fans know where they can follow you because you're definitely piecing something, but even if it's not that, let's go ahead and let the fans know where they can follow you and to remember you keep watching those other fights that a lot of people feel that you won so they can remember who you are.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys wanna, I'm about to announce probably, hopefully by the end of this week, maybe tomorrow. Honestly, maybe tomorrow.
Ooh,
If you guys wanna, check out and see, the huge, huge fight announcement that I got coming out, follow me on Instagram at Eddie Vasquez
I'll put
TX.
it here, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie Vasquez TX, or on Twitter at Team Kid Vasquez. You guys can find me on on those two social medias. I try to always get back to everyone that messages me and show mutual support and things like that. So, like I said, there's something big in the works, and I think you guys are gonna love it. And it's a big step forward, and another shot, another step closer to another shot at the world title. And
And hey, if
yeah,
you
stay
fight at the
tuned.
Monte Carlo again, I'm coming. I ain't never been there. I'm like, I want to go. It looks fun. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I think in one of the interviews you mentioned, where at first your wife was not, as not supportive, but like, oh, you're crazy, trying to, you're not, when you would tell you want to be a world champion, and at least you guys you were so close to getting a title, but also you've been able to travel, and boxing has given you guys these experiences.
yeah, she's come along with me, and we've been together since she was 14, I was 15, so it's almost 15
High
years now
school
since we were.
sweethearts.
Yes, exactly, and she always thought I was crazy, and I just gambled on myself, and I'm still doing that, still gambling on myself. So it's been fun. It's been a fun ride, and she's my ride or die, that's for sure.